For over a year now, I have been noticing and documenting some editing mistakes in MKBHD's videos. It's not because I don't like him, far from it. I think he's amazing at what he does, but as a creator myself, if I had a channel with over 20 million subscribers and a team dedicated to making my videos look their best, I would make sure everything was on point. So in this video, I want to go through some of these mistakes and how I would fix them as a graphic designer and a video editor. I want this video to be educational and entertaining rather than critical of him because, to be very honest, an average viewer does not give two shits. Only the insane creative people like myself would notice these things and make a video about it. I'm no professional myself, I just like to break things that I'm passionate about. I would admit some of these mistakes are quite out there and I cannot wrap my head around them. So okay, the Apple Vision Pro review intro is one of the hardest hitting intros I've ever seen them make. It is quite flawless, but I couldn't help but notice at the title screen how the hierarchy of titles fall apart. In design, text hierarchy helps guide the viewer's attention and makes the information easy to understand. You have primary text that is the boldest and biggest and draws your attention first, like a headline in a newspaper. Then you have secondary text you read after the primary text, like the news itself under the headline. In this intro, the primary text is review because it shows up first and has a colored background. It draws your attention there first. The secondary text is Vision Pro, so if you play it back and read it, it reads as Review Vision Pro, not as Vision Pro Review, which is the correct sentence that correlates with the video title. You wouldn't read the news, then the headline. There are two ways they could have fixed this. One, by not including Vision Pro in the background at all and having a simple rainbow light show there. Or alternatively, have the Vision Pro text be the primary text on the Vision Pro and review in the background. This would make the title screen less confusing to read and will fix the text hierarchy. In the same video, they also make another text mistake, where Marquez reads these upsides of the Vision Pro, the colored texts are not centered to the screen. This baffles me. Centering a text is a textbook rule of design. You do not leave a single strand of text that describes something by itself on a large canvas. You either anchor it to an appropriate parent element and giving it a reasonable size, or just centering it to the entire canvas, or the entire screen in this case. In the first shot of this segment, if the text was centered, it would make more sense because you would see more of the Vision Pro. At first, I thought it's possible that they placed it here so you could see his hand, but no. There is plenty of space for both the Vision Pro and his hand to be visible if you center it. As it stands now, it is not anchored to anything on the screen. It is awkwardly floating there. I cannot wrap my head around the reasoning behind this decision. The only explanation I could come up with is the second shot of this segment where the F1 car is shown at the bottom of the screen. Maybe they thought if they put the text in center here, it would cover the car. But if they moved the text up, the rest of the shots in this segment would also need adjusting, so to fix it, they moved all of them up in the same position. This is only a theory, but it is possible that they make some of the decisions last minute to get videos out as quick as possible, which is understandable. This is not the only time they've made a centering error either. In the I Visited Apple's secret iPhone testing labs video, Marquez himself is ever so slightly off center. The entire video. In the worst tech hot takes, the tweets during each segment are off center, except the last one. Good job there, I guess. Going back to the worst hot takes in tech video, there's a shot where they talk about video aspect ratios. This is a great way to visualize this for viewers that wouldn't otherwise understand with just a description. But the least they could have done is smooth out the keyframes. What? What's a keyframe? I'm glad you asked. Keyframes in video editing are basically points for changes like position, scale, or an effect over time, allowing an object to move or change over time. With linear keyframes, which looks like diamonds like these, motion is abrupt because it moves from one point to the next at a constant speed. In contrast, using Bezier curve, which looks like hourglass, creates a smoother animation because it accelerates and decelerates naturally as it starts and ends, making movement feel more fluid and visually pleasing. What they used here was not Bezier motion, hence why it looks so abrupt and weird. Like I said in the beginning, anyone that has never edited videos before in their life would notice this. But even if you've never edited before, we all subconsciously know what motion looks and feels like. So just looking at this gives an off-putting feeling even if we can't describe it specifically. Okay, so I was going to show you how easy it is to do this in video editing programs to demonstrate. So I googled to see how you would do this in Final Cut Pro because I've never used it before as I'm a Premiere editor and because Final Cut is what they use at MKBHD. To my utter disbelief, it cannot do Bezier curves natively unless you install plugins. For some perspective, this is a $300 software by Apple. All major editing programs like Premiere or DaVinci Resolve are able to do this. I did, however, learn that Apple's motion is more sophisticated in terms of motion graphics and integrates with Final Cut. Either way, they could have easily done this regardless of Final Cut's restrictions because they have done way more complicated animations in the past. But they left it at linear, and that kinda sucks. Before I talk about their most insane reoccurring crime, I want to talk about how there's a possibility that everyone at MKBHD may be alien. So hear me out. In this Nothing Phone 2a review, they put the phone's benchmark scores on screen. And credit where credit is due, this type transition animation is very well done. It looks great, it has good hierarchy, and it works very well. But the color contrast here is so bad to the point that the last number is quite literally ineligible. So in design, we have contrast ratios that allows us to properly pick a color against a background color for better readability, especially for those with visual impairments. Fun fact about contrast: in your favorite apps or websites where you use dark mode, the text color is never fully white. It's actually a shade of gray, because it contrasts better with the dark background color, allowing you to read it more comfortably. To demonstrate why this segment completely fails the contrast ratio test, I'm going to use a website called Color Contrast. Ratio above 4.5 is acceptable for normal text size, so if it can pass just 1, we will be alright. Let's color pick the gray text and a random color from the background. Input it into the website and... oh, forget the visually impaired. People with 20/20 vision would need more eyes to barely read anything with this contrast. This is why I think they're alien. So how can we fix this? There's the obvious way of shifting the dark values of the text color to improve our contrast. Another way, if someone was holding a gun to your head and you absolutely had to pick gray, would be to darken the background to lighten up your text, making your text more readable. Also, I know the text is not centered, but it is close, okay? We can give them a pass here, let's not be too critical. In the Here's the Thing About M3 MacBook Air video, this info text appears that is nearly the same brightness value as the background, making it very hard to read. In the Pixel 9 Pro Fold video, there's a graph with a number that is white on a white wall. Very awesome. In the OnePlus Watch 2 review, they do the same thing again, but on this day, maybe they woke up on the wrong side of the bed or something and said f it and reduced the text size as well, so you can have an extra hard time reading this table. Also very awesome. Speaking of tables, I think these just break their brains. I've seen many instances of tables and graphs in his videos, and they're usually always a miss with very rare hits. A table's purpose is to show a large number of information in a humanly readable fashion so viewers can easily read the data and compare them. Like in the OnePlus Watch 2 review I showed you earlier, that was a good table, minus the color contrast and size. It achieves its purpose of displaying information of different devices for easy visual comparison for the viewer. There are many examples, but the worst one was from his recent Pixel 9 review, so that's the one I want to focus on. It breaks every rule of a good table to display phone specifications. First up, the alignment in this is the most ADHD thing I've ever seen. This table is laid out in both an X and Y axes, so we have primary headings at the top and secondary headings on the left. Within them are our child items. These child items should all be aligned to both headings. Because this is a multi-level table with categories in both axes, you can have a child item not follow the parent's alignment. It breaks visual hierarchy and creates a visual clutter for absolutely no reason. We can fix this by left aligning the price to its parent heading. We now have a better hierarchy, but the left headings are still out of place because they're center aligned to themselves. The child items parents are the same as the primary headings on the x-axis, so we will right align them to make that clear. Or in other words, move them closer to their children. Next, it seems like every child item in this table was placed without any alignment guides. If I draw some guides for you here, you can see how some of these child items are not aligned whatsoever. So I will first align all child items to x-axis headings first, so they are properly aligned vertically. Then I will align them horizontally to the y-axis headings, so they're also aligned horizontally. Now everything looks to be in place, but we still have to address the elephant in the room: spacing. The spacing between each item is not evenly distributed, which is contributing to the messy look of this table. Your eyes are not able to quickly scan for information and compare data very easily. We can easily fix this by giving our headings their proper spacing. We would also need to reduce their text size to make more space. It does not make our text harder to read because we have a lot of space to work with, and it gives us more space to breathe. Let's align our child items again, since distributing our headings have misaligned them. The screen specification text is 2 lines long. The line spacing is so tight that it makes the text look cramped and cluttered. This is very bad practice in typography in general, because you do not want a line of text overlapping another just because you don't have enough space. There are many ways we can fix this. First and foremost, we can fix the line spacing according to our font. Then we evenly distribute them based on our top and bottom items. Finally, for some visual candy, we can give the prices a nice little background so they can be even better compared. Here's a quick before and after to show you how much better it looks with these small adjustments. Does any of this matter? No. Does it make a difference? Absolutely. You wouldn't leave a sock on the floor. It's not gonna hurt anybody, but you bet your ass it makes the whole room look messy. I've already mentioned how sick the Apple Vision Pro intro was. Absolutely beautiful, minus what I talked about. 10 out of 10, would watch for inspiration. In the I visited Apple's secret iPhone testing labs video, the IP rating visual is super clever. I love the analog look of it. I love it. The intro to reviewing every Samsung Galaxy S ever, the Galaxy themed background, the text animation, the perfect lighting, and the Android in the background too are an incredible touch to the whole video, and very well put together. It's a fantastic introduction to the video. The little things in the call-out title that shows up when he's talking about a product or a person is pretty sweet. It grabs your attention and is very good looking. I love it. I hope this was somewhat educational and entertaining. If Marquez or the team is watching, I do freelance, so feel free to DM me if you ever need to make a table. Thanks for watching. Peace. We can easily fix this by giving our headings their proper spacing.